Would you like to live forever, or get the chance to create a sort of save file that you could reload from in the result of a tragic accident? How about having a brain that is no longer affected by aging? All of this could be possible through mind uploading, the process of taking your current mental state and copying it to a computer, and thus, theoretically, creating a perfect copy of yourself, allowing you to live out the rest of your life, no longer confined to your biological brain. Today we'll be discussing whether or not this is a good idea and if you should want to upload your brain. To begin, let's look at the teletransportation paradox. The paradox first appeared in philosopher Derek Parfit's book Reasons and Persons in 1984 and goes as follows. Imagine entering a teletransporter, a machine that puts you to sleep, then destroys you, breaking you down into atoms, copying the information, and relaying it to Mars at the speed of light. On Mars, another machine recreates you, making sure that each atom is placed in exactly the same position. Parfit poses the question of whether or not the teletransported person is still you, or if rather the person on Earth dies, and then a new, sort of doppelganger, lives out your life on Mars with the exact same memories. When the doppelganger wakes up on Mars, they will have the memory of entering the teletransporter, so they would feel as if they were you. To press the point further, imagine if, instead of your body getting destroyed when you step into the transporter, it simply creates another replica of you on Mars. Surely that replica would not be you, as how can you be in two places at once? Mind uploading suffers from the same problem. They may be able to create an upload with your memories and mental state, but just like the teletransported person, would the new copy really be you? To explore this further, let's discuss what really makes you, well, you. Personal identity. In the 1700s, philosopher John Locke believed that personal identity came from neither the body nor soul of a person, but rather the repeated act of consciousness. Locke believed that if the soul and body of a person were perfectly copied, it would not be the same as the original person, because the consciousness would be different. He believed that one soul may have many personalities, and that our body changes over time, but we remain the same person. However, Locke also believed that there was more to this, because he realized that when you go to sleep every night and wake up, we may have altered our state of consciousness, but our conscious selves remember who we are the next day. This is when he proposed a memory theory of personal identity. This is the belief that as long as you have some of the same memories your past self had, and the past self has some of the memories an earlier self had, and so on, you must be the same person, persisting over time. This actually seems to make some sense. However, there are some issues with it that can't be ignored. One of them being, is a person who loses their memory stop being the same person? Well, now, let's look at another theory for what makes you the same over time, the psychological theory of personal identity, which is that having the same mind with the same beliefs, desires, memories, and rational thought leads you to be the same person over time. Let's use two thought experiments by philosopher Bernard Williams to reveal our intuitions on this. In the first, two people switch bodies. After the process is complete, one person will have the memories, behavioral dispositions, and psychological characteristics of person A, with the body of person B, and the other will have the memories of person B with the body of person A. Before the experiment began, both participants were asked which person should receive a reward and which should receive a punishment. Suppose that A and B are completely selfish and don't really care what's going to happen to the other. So each person wanting to personally receive the reward and the other to be punished, choose the body with their memories and psychological characteristics to receive the reward, and the body with the other person's memories to receive the punishment. The experimenter then decides to fulfill B's request, because he can't fulfill both. So he rewards person A's body and punishes person B's body. In this case,
The person with B's body
will understandably be outraged because they were promised a reward but instead were punished. However, the A's body is completely satisfied. It goes on with her presumably happy life. As William notes, this reveals our intuition that a person's personal identity comes from their memories, behavioral dispositions, and psychological characteristics. This is because they can imagine living out their existence in someone else's body. So this thought experiment seems to confirm the psychological theory of personal identity. But let's move on to the second thought experiment, which tells a slightly different story. This time, we are going to play a game I like to call Reassured or Not Reassured. The game starts like this. A mad scientist tells you that you will be tortured tomorrow morning. Now you're going to tell me if the following things are reassuring to you. But before we start, let me just clarify something, which is that we are only interested in how being tortured makes us feel. Basically, if you think that you will suffer or not how these things may alter your life in the long term. So, let's begin. The mad scientist tells you that when the time comes to torture you, he'll ensure you'll have no memory of ever being told that you are going to be tortured. Basically, that the torture will be a complete surprise. Is this reassuring or not reassuring? The mad scientist next tells you that at the moment of torture, you won't be able to remember anything at all that you now remember. Not what you ate yesterday or the memory of your first date. Nothing. Reassuring or not reassuring? The mad scientist now states that not only will you not be able to remember anything that you now remember, but you'll have an entirely different set of thoughts and impressions of your past. Basically, it would be like waking up and wholeheartedly believing you are a completely different person. Reassuring or not so reassuring? Last, the mad scientist now tells you the new sets of thought and impressions of your past will exactly match those of someone who is currently alive. And in fact, they will be copied into your brain from the others. Reassuring or not reassuring? If the following were reassuring to you, then congratulations. You have followed the same logic that we used in the first thought experiment, where we believed that if our memories, behavioral dispositions, and psychological characteristics were not inside our body, we were a different person. If the following was not reassuring to you, then it looks like you have a slightly different intuition than what we first thought. In the first experiment, we thought it would be best to punish the body without the memories, behavioral dispositions, and psychological characteristics of us. However, we are scared to be tortured even though it is our body with someone else's memories. Therefore, if you believe that the first thought experiment is correct, then you should not fear torture in the second thought experiment. This leaves us with the understanding that our intuitions may or may not be reliable or even consistent on what makes us the same person in the future. This outlines one of the biggest challenges in regard to mind uploading, which is that without the understanding of what creates our minds and makes us who we are, how do we know whether a mind upload would be us? Now I'd like to turn the question over to you. What do you think gives you your personal identity? And would you ever consider uploading your mind? Either way, links to my sources are in the description. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day.